Goa, a place of celebration where cultures from the east meets the west, a land where the sun, the sea, and the sand create magic, where an enchanting brew of history filters down to an engaging culture, where creative minds dance to the flow of the shores like the TSC, where, be it rain or shine, the energy on the streets never die, where there is a delicious platter for both your soul and your palate. And finally, Goa is the land where quality finds a natural expression, where aesthetics are defined. As Goa gears up for the 49th International Film Festival of India, here is your invite to be a part of a journey of celebrating the joy of cinema and filmmaking.
Two wonderful actors here. One, of course, who's been in the industry for more than 15 years now, and one who's made a mark for himself a mark for himself in a very short period of time. Of course, you've seen him in Padmavat. You've seen him as a terrorist in Nirja. You've seen him in Sanju, and you've seen him in a web series and much more. So we're going to have a conversation with them about their acting career, basically. And of course, we'll stick also to the subject, unmasking the character actors. Let's start with Chitrangada first, as I say, ladies first. And so talk us through about your journey. How did it begin? You started with modeling, if I'm not wrong, and you did a music video for Gulzar. So how did acting come into the picture at that point?
I just feel like I've repeated this so many times. Firstly, this is the first time I'm doing a forum like this. So thank you so much for having me here, and hi everyone. Well, okay. How did it start? Matlab, you're right. I mean, I did start modeling in college for a little bit of money. And then that led to a music video that I did for Gulzar Sarbh. And pehli baar Gulzar Sarbh ek music video direct kar rahe the, and Meghna Gulzar was producing it. So I actually met them the first time I ever got, so to speak, a movie camera, in front of a movie camera was for that. So then that happened, and then somebody saw that music video. Then they called me for audition that they were having for Hazaro in Delhi. They were auditioning a lot of National School of Drama people there. That's how I reached there, and then I got Hazaro, my first film. But even though you said it's 15 years, but I took like a good 6-year break in between. I think after 2004, and I came back in 2010. Nine. Yeah. So yeah, it just doesn't feel that long, but yeah, I've been around that long, and it's been lovely, especially after the comeback, sort of a comeback that I made. I think it just makes you value when you stay away from something. You value that experience that you had so much more, and you want it so much more. And I think you also want it for the right reasons then. I mean, because you realize what you sort of miss when you're not in front of the camera, or you're not being part of cinema, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, it's just sort of been an amazing journey, and having produced Surma this year has been another one which is totally unforgettable. Yeah.
Donning the hat of a producer, we also saw you in Bazaar. Right. And Surma was screened here at the festival as a part of the sports section, the Kilo India Kilo campaign. But we'll come back to that. But Jim, it's been a relatively short but a very overwhelming journey, you can say, in a short period of time, because the kind of accolades that you've got ever since Nirja came out primarily. So do you feel overwhelmed by the response that you're getting?
So I acted in theatre in the States and in Bombay for 4 years before I got cast in Nirja. So it's like the journey with acting in general has been an ongoing process. I was acting in high school. So as far as I was concerned, it was, I was hoping it was just a matter of time. So then when I got cast in Nirja and the role was enough to really sink your teeth in, I was very grateful to be given that opportunity first. Sometimes it is overwhelming, but more because of all of the people I suddenly have to deal with, not because of the acting. The acting I enjoy. I would like to be cast in everything always. It's more like managing this whole new world. So for a while it was a bit like birthing pains, when you're being birthed into a new, strange, confusing world where you have to handle, production managers, hierarchies, egos, which is not as prevalent in theater. You know, it's different. It's because it's not a big commercial enterprise. Anytime anything becomes a big commercial enterprise, there's so many intermediaries and bureaucracy basically that you have to start to deal with. So mostly for me, it's been understanding how to wrap my head around that world a lot more than being overwhelmed by the acting part of it. That I'm ready, you know.
And you still continue doing a lot of theatre, so it may sound like a cliched question, but does that still remain your first love?
No, it's not a question of first or second loves. I've always wanted to act in films as well. I just never got cast, so I kept doing theatre. I just finished a play called Constellations at NCPA, literally on Sunday. Sunday we had a show at 4 and another show at 7. It's this intense play about multiple universes and the infinite possibilities in a moment, where I could answer your question in an infinite amount of ways, and that'll decide how the rest of this conversation and the rest of my life goes. I'm really fascinated with that idea.
Well, that does sound fascinating. But Chitrangada, when you started off your debut film, I mean, it was a big deal at that time, and you really made a mark for yourself in that particular film. And if I'm not wrong, it was Kevin Mantha, or there was an article in the Telegraph which said that you're going to be the next Smita Patil, or something to that effect. Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it Kevin Mantha who said that?
Yes, it was actually. And the funny thing is that I didn't know who Kevin Mantha was, okay? So, I mean, I knew the films he'd done, but the first screening that we had, the very first screening of Hazaro, so he was there, so these very close friends, they were all there. And this man I saw staring at me from across the room after the screening. Everybody's sort of waiting to hear what the reactions are.
You mean one of the men staring at you from across the room?
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, okay. So one of the men. But yeah, that was a very peculiar stare. He just kind of kept looking very intense, and I thought, okay, maybe he'll look away. And I looked back, and he kept looking, and then he started walking towards me. And I said, okay, let me start talking to someone. And then he walked right up, and he came up to me, and he said, you are rare, and remember that. And that's all he said. And then he walked away, and I was like, okay, I don't know who this is, like trying to give me a compliment and all. So later I got to know that was Mr. Kevin Mantha. And he was so moved after seeing the film because he was very close to Smita ji. And I believe he was almost in tears, and he was like very moved. So yeah, he did say that, you remind me so much of her that I couldn't say anything at that point. I think that's probably one of the biggest and the best compliments. Until date, I remember exactly how he said it. So yeah, it was kind of special, very, very special. Yeah.
What happened subsequently? We were hoping to see you in lots of films after that, but you were acting on and off, but
Yeah,
we didn't see you as much as we would have liked to.
Yeah, I mean, I've answered this question so many times. I was married then, right? And so I left because I wanted to make the other half of my life sort of work. And so I left films then. And then I came back, and then I went back again. So it was just like a big of bad. I mean, not everything in life is sort of perfect. And sometimes you're trying to manage your personal life and manage that balance, and it doesn't quite happen. And so it was a bit of back and forth for me.
I think also we all are taught to believe that your career is the only thing that defines you, and I just don't think that's entirely true. There's a whole host of things that can be a part of an enriching life, and career is just one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And well, as the French say, c'est la vie, that is life, so is life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, since this is about character actors, let's talk to Jim about some of the popular ones that he's played.
You know that I'm going to attack this character actor thing, right? You know that I'm going to go full on the aggressive in about 2 seconds, right? Are you ready?
Please.
Okay, what do you mean by character actor?
Well, an actor who has some, or rather...
Isn't everybody a character actor?
In essentially, yes. I mean, everybody is a character actor.
All actors are playing characters, so I don't understand the difference between character actor and any other kind of actor.
Or rather, let's approach it in a different way. Let's approach the characters that you have played. Forget the character actor. Let's approach the characters that you've played. And let's talk about
He's just taken the sting away completely now.
No, I hear what you're saying, and it's not just like an ego thing, but I think that in general, we make this, and I cannot belabor this point more, we make a clear distinction between hero, villain, damsel in distress, character actor. It makes no sense to me. None. Zero. Heroes can be women, villains can be women, damsel in distresses can be men, and usually all people are all three of those things at different times in their lives. The men are damsel in distresses sometimes and just need to be comforted and held and told everything is all right. Sometimes all of us who consider ourselves good people in general are horrible to people without realizing it. And we are full on the villains then. And sometimes from where it comes, we don't even know, but we act heroically. And even if that heroic act is just helping a friend out who's upset and just somehow magically finding the right words for them in that moment, or just knowing when to be there for your parents or somebody else, or, you know, whatever it is, the small acts of things that we do day in and day out. And I don't know why we continue to make these clear archetypes and continue to force people into certain gender stereotypes which don't really exist in the world. I don't understand it.
Absolutely. And even how do you define a character actor in the sense that would Samba in Sholay be a character actor? Everybody knows Samba, but he has only 3 words in the whole film, but everybody knows him. So it's hard to define whether he's a character actor. So we leave that aside.
What is a character actor? They're all characters.
They're all character actors, essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Even if they say just pure 50,000 in the whole film,
I just
he
don't
still
understand.
is an important character actor. But let's approach the characters that you have played and let's talk about them. That makes it much more simple. Let's start with Neerja first. How did Neerja happen?
Somebody who'd seen me audition for some ads called me in, and I auditioned for the part, and they called me in for one of the 4 hijackers, and they actually wanted me to play the guy that eventually gets a conscience, you know, in the beginning. But then after, you know, meeting me for a bit, they were like, no, this guy has no conscience.
Very difficult.
Yeah, no. They were like, no, actually, the way that the script was written, Khalil was this like big, lumbering brute, basically. He was always described like red-eyed and like, you know, always. And then, I don't know, I thought it became actually more interesting that the person who was cast as Khalil then eventually wasn't like the biggest one out of the 4. He was just the most ruthless. He was just the most like focused. And that only happened over the course of the workshop that we did for 5 days. So when I finally read the script, I was like, no, I want this other part. I don't want that guy who has a conscience part. This other guy is more interesting, has more to do. So I was gunning for it during the workshop. And I think the guy running the workshop, Vinod Rawat, really, really good acting coach. He also thought that I could do it. So then over the end of the 5 days, they had cast me as Khalil, and I was, you know, overjoyed.
So how do you approach a role like that? I mean, there's no template for that. It's only what, you know, a hearsay kind of a thing, because nobody really knows what terrorists actually do inside, or hijackers actually do.
So we did extensive workshops with, you know, working on the backstories and all of that kind of stuff. But more useful for me was that we really went through moments in the script. We had learned the lines of the whole film at least a month before shooting had even started. We walked through certain scenarios that could happen. We'd spend, one of the things he'd be like, okay, you don't have to do any of the action of the film. You're just waiting. You're just waiting to hear back from the people outside. So we just stood around for an hour, waiting, wondering when he'll stop the exercise and getting bored. And so then it's like, well, I guess even hijackers get bored. So what do? So I made myself some coffee. I started eating an orange. And all of these things made it to the final film.
Yeah.
There's one scene where I'm eating the orange and I'm spitting the pips at somebody. And that's because he's just bored and he doesn't know what to do. And he wishes things had happened faster. And he wonders why the plane isn't off yet. And it's really ruining his plans. And I think, again, the approach is not to see it as a villain. Because this guy, his parents have been murdered in Palestine. He's grown up in a refugee camp. To him, this is due justice. we all will disagree with him. We all will say that people's lives are not something to be trivialized or thrown away, but to him, it's due justice.
Indeed. And Chitrangada, is there any particular way you approach the roles that you have played? Let's go backwards, starting with Bazaar recently.
Yeah, but it's so interesting when he talks like that, right? It's like I'm just totally...
You almost start liking hijackers.
Yeah, like I was like, wow, there's so much process there. Now you ask me, I don't have much of a process. I think I don't know. I sort of try and get the energy of the character that I'm going to play. So whether if in Bazaar, like I play a very rich woman, extremely rich, and almost to the point where I mean, she doesn't understand ambition, she doesn't understand the greed, she doesn't understand these kind of things because she's born in so much of luxury that she thinks, oh, like this is all ridiculous and this is not, why do you have to be so ambitious? It's just the energy of that person, like how would she be? And I think I just start from there on, and then of course the lines come and how she would speak or how she would be. And so Hazaro, say my first film, I think the way Sudhir sort of took me, my director took me through the character, it was more about, and what was amazing was because the first time that I had ever acted, I'd never acted before that. I'd never seen a movie camera before that, like literally, like no action, nothing happened. So the first scene that I did had no dialogues in it. I'm in this circuit house that she's waiting, and she's already married to someone, but she has a lover and she's waiting, that is played by K.K. Menon, and he's coming to meet her and she's waiting for him. So the way Sudhir sort of directed me at that point was that he said, you have to be this woman who is who's in love, is guilty, is a little ashamed of what she's doing, but she thinks she's right in loving and wanting the man that she thinks she should be with. And she's married to the wrong man. And I have no dialogues, and I'm just kind of lying down, and I slowly start opening my hair, like a Judah, And he said, that is the energy that I want to see on your face, and that's the person I want to see. So I think the whole film, he directed me like that, and that's where I sort of got a sense of a process. That, I need to catch on to the feelings, every single feeling that she's feeling at that point, not just one thing, and then try and bring out like a mix of all that. So whether she gets up and she gets off the bed, okay, she's ashamed, but she's in love. So, I just sort of try and take myself through these words and this. I don't know if this is making sense. I didn't go to a film school, but this is a sort of a process that I think I try and, sort of work at.
No, yeah. I think that's totally spot on. There's always many things at cross purposes, but if you can usually find the two things that are the biggest things at cross purposes. So there's the shame is one arrow, and the fact that you're in love and you think that it's totally fine is the other arrow. So you're constantly playing against both of them. Yes. You never play just one or just the other, because you want to always see somebody in a conflict. That's the most interesting.
That's what I was trying to say. For the last 5 minutes. That's it.
All right, that will bring us to the next question. Your next role, the very recent one, which is also showing at IFFI, Padmavat. And that was a very interesting character that you played. So talk us through that. Malik Kafur.
Malik Kafur, yeah. So much of the success of that is completely because of Ranveer and SLB, Sanjay sir. Because I don't know if it would have been possible if both of them hadn't been as generous or as interested in him, in Malik Kafur. Yeah, it's very possible for him to have just been, gay stereotype character that comes in for like comedic effect and then is gone. And neither of them were interested in that, and I wasn't either. So if that had happened, it might have been a very painful process for me actually to shoot the film. It would have been very like, oh gee, I don't want to do it. I don't. But instead they were fascinated with him, which just increased my fascination. And then we kept trying to make him more and more complicated, more and more, again, the two things, you know, that he loves him, but he also disagrees with a lot of what he does. And the two of those things are constantly at odds. He's jealous, but he's also proud. So he doesn't want to show his jealousy in the same way that Merunissa is showing it, for example, which is, you know, why? I mean, you know, but more stately, but essentially that. And yeah, this guy, I think, how does a proud person, how does a proud, vain person feel jealous? How do they express that? It's interesting.
You share a great chemistry with Ranveer on screen. So did it come from off screen? Did you all kind of rehearse a lot for that? Or it was just spontaneous?
We would do little bits of rehearsal before, but I think we just loved each other right from the get-go. I think we'd both seen enough of each other in whatever, you know, and he suggested me for the role after seeing Nirja. So he was already like, who's this man? I want to meet this boy. And then, yeah, it was just easy. We just do things. Or we'd come to the side, he'd be like, okay, during this part, we're both going to start laughing. Okay, let's try it. Okay, cool. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. Okay, let's do it.
And that's it.
And then we do it in the scene, and SLB would be like, oh, wow, and your laughed so nice. And we'd be like, yeah, okay. Very good. So it was more or less, we kept going like that. Improvisations, and we were just very good at bouncing off each other's energy. So a scene which the first take was just talking. The second take, I would come in with more excitement. He would get more excited in response. At the end, both of us are like, you know, shouting. And Merunissa's on the side planning his head, being like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. What are they doing? Who does he love, you know? Who does he love?
Well, that's fascinating. And the other role that you played recently was Sanju.
Yeah.
That was again quite different from the previous two ones.
Yeah. I mean, when you keep getting cast as the villain, you got to make yourself not bored, you know. So you got to do something different, I guess. Yeah, it's Sanjay. He talks like that.
So were you talking at home also like that?
No, but I was shooting Padmavat at the same time, and sometimes I would be still practicing the lisp, and then I would go in to shoot the Padmavat scene. I'm like, wait, which accent is this one? This is a different accent. It's like that.
You should keep a checklist.
Yeah.
Tick. Chitrangada, as a producer, Surma, how did that happen?
Completely by accident. In the sense, I was writing something. I wasn't like again, it was one of my comeback periods, which I hadn't worked for a while. And I started writing a little bit. I was working on 2 stories. And I met Sandeep Singh through a friend. And I got to know his story, like what's happened in his life. And he's, you know, been in coma and come back. And I was like, oh, but he's the highest goal scorer in the Indian Hockey League right now. Yeah, he went back. He became the captain. I was like, are you serious? And, you know what I mean? It's so difficult to find a comeback story per se, and now this is something which is a very active sport. You know, it's not chess, right? It's hockey, and he is the highest, the fastest drag flicker in the world. So just all of that, and then I started writing his story, and then I told him to write some bits himself, and I just thought that'll make an amazing story. But at the same time, I didn't think it needed to be commercialized or needed that kind of a love story put in and stuff, you know. So that's why I thought I should probably produce it and see to it that we have the right kind of people on board and make it the way it should be made. It should be about the sport, you know, not so much about just the love story or other stuff that usually gets thrown in for the masala angle. So yeah, I think that's why. And then I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm so happy that those 2.5 years that it took to come to screen was tough, but I'm so glad I did that. Yeah.
So will we see you more often as a producer or as an actress in the future?
Can I choose both? Well, I hope it's both. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Well, we hope so too. We'd like to throw the floor open for questions. I can see a gentleman there. Please raise your hand. We'll get you a mic. Please, the gentleman there. हाँ एक मिनट यहाँ से लेकर वहाँ खड़े
Yeah, hi, this is Mayur here from Sinistan.com. Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
Hey Mayur, how are you doing?
I'm also doing great. Hi, Chitrangada. I have one question each for Jim and for Chitrangada. I'll start first with Jim. Like early you mentioned about that you're able to handle the acting part of it, and you mentioned the word bureaucracy. So, like in the past, there have been stories, like where, the word, I also don't like the word character actors or supporting actors, but there have been stories where a certain actor, in the supporting cast, he or she may have a little meaty role, but the star in the film, has not liked to it and told the director to chop it off. So, in your career so
Oh
far in
no.
these 2 years, like, do you
No,
think that industry has really moved on from that?
I don't know. I've never experienced
Okay.
anything like that.
Okay.
All the actors so far that I've had have all been pretty happy to have me in the scene, I guess, and I've been happy to be in the scene with them. And I think most of all of the actors that I've worked with seem to understand that it's about the scene. It's about making the best scene. It isn't about one person standing out alone in it, because if you only care about one character in the whole film, you lose interest fairly fast. You have to care about other people as well. You have to care about the conflict and the dynamics between the two. And it seems like they understand that, so I've never had that problem.
And Chindrakanta, like you've been an enigma in your career. You started off with a critically acclaimed film, and like you were touted as this next big thing in Bollywood, and then you took a break. You came back, and I just wonder whether, like, post your comeback, the kind of films that you've done, the kind of characters that have been given to you, do you think like they have fully done justice to your talent, or you're still searching for that, one good film, one good character that could redefine your career?
Mayur, it's good you asked Chitrangada this question and not me, because I would have attacked you, but she's really polite, so one second, let's see what happens.
But I think I kind of agree with him a little bit because of the number of years I've sort of gone and come back and time I've taken in between. No, I kind of agree. I think you do suffer a little bit. I mean, this place definitely has short memory. You're taking off for 6 years, then you're taking off for 2 years. It definitely tells on your work. But like Jim just said, you have a personal life as well, and you need to manage everything. So yeah, probably, and as an actor, I think we're all so greedy. We always think that there is something better waiting for us, should be waiting for us. But having said that, I think at the same time, I have too much to be thankful for. With the little bit of work that I've done, I think just the fact that I'm here, and people sort of acknowledge that, and I still have people loving that work that I've done. Honestly, I think it's great. I'm quite happy where I am right now. But I'm waiting. I am waiting.
See how good she is at it? She's so good. I should take notes.
Yeah, don't worry, you can attack me, Jim, if you want.
But just as an extension of that question, in the period that you've been apart and away from the industry, is there any project, is there any role that you wish you would have been associated with, or it's been kind of, there are no regrets at all whatsoever?
See, I mean, I think आप जो भी फिल्म जाकर देखते हो स्क्रीन पे, as an actor, a lot of times you imagine, यार ये मैं ऐसा करती, ये ऐसे होता. So half of the times you're actually imagining most of them. But there's so many of them there, which was so good. I mean, Khoya Khoya Chand was the one film that Sudhir had written sort of for me at that point, and I wasn't around to be in it. I think it would have been nice to be part of that, yeah.
Right.